Hi.
So, all right. So these are the two speakers. Um, let's see what I have scheduled for today's events. All right. First off, we have Rafi talking about the current issues in the oceans around Southeast Asia and how you guys, as the young generation, can help to make things better, I hope, right? But before we do that, Rafi, you have worked with a lot of NGOs in the past, right? Let me just, oh, by the way, this will be super informal. So feel free to interrupt at any time, right? If with questions, I'll try my very best. If you guys are not okay with like voicing out your questions over the microphone, feel free to type in the chat box. Thai questions are fine. I'll try my best to translate the questions and pass along to our speakers. Okay. So yeah, with that, I was just gonna say that Rafi, you just got a master's degree in coastal science and policy. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So I just graduated last month on June.
Oh, congratulations!
So, yeah.
Well,
thank you.
Yeah, so he's got the master's degree from the University of California in Santa Cruz. Also, what kind of degree did you do when you were doing your undergrad degree? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so my undergrad degree focused on marine biology. So it's I think it's kind of like the same with the Chulalongkorn University. So it's put more emphasis on understanding the biology and ecology of the marine ecosystems, while my master's went more towards interdisciplinary sciences. So it combines more on the political science, social science, economy. So yeah, it's just the nature of environmental conservation in general, but more focused on the coastal areas.
Okay, so I guess let me just switch around before you start, putting up your slides or whatever you have. But how about just introducing Supacha a little bit? So Supacha, so you just graduated from our department not so long ago, right?
Yeah.
What was
right.
what was your focus when you were doing your undergraduate degree?
I am actually focused on marine biology, especially corals, because it's my favorite animals, of course. Yeah. Most of the things are biology.
Okay. But I think one of the more interesting question would be why marine science? Why you both of you like were interested in looking at stuff in the sea in the first place? I think I'm kind of more curious to learn like what were your stories? Should I start with Rafi first?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a very interesting questions that I received. So for me, choosing marine biology was more like an accident because my traditional family route, my parents wanted me to be a doctor or like an engineer because I was graduated on top of my class. But, I tried applying to several university degrees and programs for, in medical school, but I got rejected 5 times. And then at that time, like, oh my God, I didn't get accepted anywhere. And then I decided to apply for a program that was less competitive in the university. And then I chose marine programs because at a time like that, the program was not very popular. Apparently, like, even if like we live in a very fast island nations in Indonesia, and we have such, diversity of marine ecosystems, but people just don't realize, we have that resources, and choosing marine biology as a, career route or something like that. And then at a time, like, I was feeling lost in the first 2 semesters, but in the 3rd semester, I felt very attached to marine ecosystems and felt really, fall in love with all of the marine resources that we have here. So yeah, I decided to stick around and explore lots of issues, like starting from biotechnology and then conservation and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the happy accident that led to you now working with the ocean. Great.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. All right, Ploy. What about you? Supacha?
I actually prepare for this card in my talk.
Oh,
So,
okay. Well, you know what? You can hold it for. That's
You don't want to
fine.
spoil it.
Yeah, let's not spoil that for now. Okay, you keep that.
Okay.
I'm not gonna try to steal your thunder. All right, cool. How so with that said, I guess I'll go back to Rafi just a little bit more before you started, your talk. And I mean, I look at some of your profile. You worked with a lot of NGOs, right? I mean, what drew you to work with those agencies? Why not, like, coming fresh out of your undergraduate study and went straight to perhaps research route? What kind of appeal that you saw in working with non-governmental agencies or organizations?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. I think that as I've said, in the third semester in my second year, I started to be really interested to a lot of different things, from biotechnology and then marine conservation and ecology. And then at a time, like, every summer break, instead of, going home and then doing nothing, just many of my friends did that. So usually, like, they go home and then they like spend the rest of the summer doing nothing. I usually do internships with various NGOs. So I started to like working with organizations like WWF, and then start, working on issues marine, like sea turtle conservation. And then in the next year, on the summer, I decided to choose like different organizations like Society for Marine Mammals and something like that. So that's kind of like, giving me a different perspectives about the issue, and also giving me, access to networks and make me know a lot of people. I think that especially, and that ended up me landing my first job after I graduated. I think that started when when I almost graduated from my university, from my undergrad. I started to draw on the issue about shark conservation, because many Indonesian community are, depending on the sharks from the meat and the fins as livelihoods and protein sources. And many of the fishermen actually fall under the poverty line. So they really, depend on the resources. And on the other hand, the sharks are endangered. So we have to, kind of find a solutions how we can protect the sharks, but also protect the community, protect the economy, and something like that. So I did internship with them before like 3 months before I graduate. And just, getting to know the community. So I work with this NGO and live in a remote island with no electricity. And in a very small island, far from everywhere, I have to travel with boat for like 4 hours. And that kind of like opened my eye, like, oh, we don't like, I don't know how, we have this community that depending on whales, on sharks, on manta rays for a very long time. And the fact that the resources have already depleting. So that was kind of inspiring and eye-opening as well. So after I graduated, the organizations offered me a full-time job, because they know like that I really like about the issue, and I was really passionate about it. So yeah, that's ended me like, working with lots of amazing people, and to kind of like contribute on marine conservation itself.
So that was at the Treasure Shark Project, right?
Yeah, so the Treasure Shark Project was actually the organizations that I started. I work with different organizations. Yeah, so after I worked for almost 3 years with organization called Manta Trust. So they based in the UK, but they have Indonesian projects here. and then I felt like maybe I should start my own project and then making my own impact on different island. And then I applied for funding. I gathered my team, and then we started working on this project. And it's almost 3 years now. So
okay. So if you
Yeah.
don't mind, like how old were you when you started the Treasure Shark project? I mean, now that you're gonna review your age.
yeah, so I'm 27 now.
So you
so I
started out when you're 24.
24. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. So I actually started the project before I went to graduate school.
Mhm.
So I after I graduated from undergrad, I worked for 2 years. So I graduated on the age of 21. And I spent almost 3 years working with Mentor Trust in a small island in Raja Ampat. And then after that, like, okay, I think that, because the project was very mature and it's already well established, like lots of more senior people like doing more important things than mine. I felt like maybe as like the idealistic young people, like, oh, I would like to create an impact, and like maybe I should start my own project. And then at the age of 24, I decided to work with my own project with my team. So we it's 4 of us. Yeah, we've been doing this for 3 years now. It's not easy, but yeah, there's so much reward to it as well.
Right. I guess the moral of the story is that you don't have to wait around to start to make an impact, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you can start at any time, and you are a fine example of that, right? I mean, you don't have to wait around. You're like, okay, I'm gonna make some impact. I want to make some change to the world, and you go ahead and do it, which is really great. All right, cool. With that, I guess I'll put. We'll start with your talk, what you want to share with us, right? The issues that you think were really important in terms of the ocean around the Southeast Asia. So with that, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, for some engaging questions, and I got to share a little bit about myself and my work. And thanks foremost for Chulalongkorn University, and especially Professor Chika and all the professors who organized this talk. It's been a pleasure to be here. I would like to share my screen. Yeah, can you all see my screen?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Before I start, I would like to know a little bit, like, how is the proportion of participants in this call? Are they like a more senior in the university, or like just entering the program or something like that?
I think we have someone as young as what, 5? How old are you,
Wow,
Nikita?
okay. Hello.
7.
7.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have anyone younger than 7? Okay, I guess she's the youngest one here.
Wow, amazing. Hello, Patita. It's great that you have been interested in issues about the oceans in such early age.
Yes, I'm interested by the marine.
Thank you. I hope my talk.
I like to read a book about the whales and dolphins.
Okay, amazing. I hope you get to see some of the documentary about marine life. Yeah. Do you want to be a researcher?
I want to be a marine scientist.
Amazing. Okay. Maybe Miss Supacha can tell you more about her experience. Yeah, how to be a marine scientist from Thailand.
Yeah, sure. I would love to talk about that.
All right. Well, thank you. So yeah, the talk that I will be giving, it can be a little bit, I will reveal a little bit of the settings about the state of our oceans. But at the end, like, throughout my presentations, I hope it will open a little bit of the knowledge for people who have not yet aware about how rich is our Southeast Asian Ocean, especially So my name is Rafid. As Mr. Chao already introduced, that I'm from Indonesia. I'm calling in from Jakarta. So my background is in marine biology in my undergrad. So my undergrad thesis actually focused on finding the potential of anti-malaria from sea sponge. So I was involved a little bit on the biotechnology side, and then moved towards more on conservation of marine ecosystems, especially marine megafauna like sharks and rays. And I really love doing field work and interact with local community. After that, I moved to the US for 2 years, studying coastal science and policy in University of California. And I'm representing Sustainable Ocean Alliance as the Southeast Asia representative. So maybe Ploy could explain more about SOA and what SOA Thailand is doing. I'm just giving you like 2 slides about SOA. So SOA is a global organization. The office itself is based in the US, in San Francisco, California, but it's using a concept of networking. So SOA, even if like it's based in the US, we spread across the global reach. So people who have passion about the ocean, love about the ocean and wanted to be involved in ocean sustainability, they can start create a community, what we call as SOA hubs. And that's what Supacha and her team doing in Thailand. So we have more than 5,000 active members from across 165 countries. All of them are representing, many different disciplines and also interests. So those who are interested in coral reefs, those who are students, those who are researchers, doing lots of different work in ocean sustainability. So in SOA itself, we have 4 main key programs that we actually providing, support. So if you are interested, maybe later Ploy could explain more about what is SOA Thailand is doing and also the kind of support. And if you want like to know more about the supports, you can also reach me out on that one. So the first one is that SOA Solutions Microgrant. It's actually a funding that is provided to you if you're interested to start your own marine conservation projects. So it's open globally. So if you're in Thailand, somewhere in Thailand, you can apply for a project focused on education, on advocacy, on research, anything. So you can apply on that one. And we also have what we call as Youth Policy Advisory Council. So if you're interested on, changing policy about marine conservation in more international setting, so Youth Policy Advisory Council, or us, what we call as YPAC, they represented from more than 5 regions. So from Southeast Asia, the Pacific, Africa, the US, and Latin America. So and also Europe. And these YPAC members usually involved in some of the highest level meetings. So like, for example, United Nations meeting for the oceans, they usually, representing the youth about what the things to consider on, improving the state of our ocean in the global arena. The third one is the Ocean Learning Labs. It's the monthly webinar that we conducted to, so we discussed a lot of different issues about ocean plastics, about technology around the oceans, about restoration efforts around the globe. So we invited lots of different people from around the globe to share their experience and expertise. And the last one is events. So SOA, sometimes before the pandemic, we conducted a global meeting called the Our Ocean Conference. So on 2018, it was happening in Indonesia. 2019, it happened in Norway. And on 2020, because of the pandemic, it's supposed to happen in Palau, but it has to be canceled. We're not really sure yet. And in turn, how when the world can be able to gather and in travel and stuff like that. And we decided to create more online events, what we call as SOA Connects, that will connecting thousands of SOA members and just be connected and learn from each other. So yeah, if you're interested later on, you can check on the website and contact Ploy or contact me about SOA activities and how to join. All right, that's about SOA. And then this is the outline of my talks. I was hoping this will not get too long, but I hope you all not tired of hearing me talking. So the outline of the talk is that the first one, I will give the overview of marine ecosystem issues in Southeast Asia. So specifically, I will touch on something that Ploy loves the most, which is coral reef. So I'm using a reference from World Resource Institute, where they produce one large report about the deep analysis of coral reef ecosystem across Southeast Asian nations. And then we gonna touch a little bit about what is the key problems and what causes them. And then what is the management measures that has been taken to solve and to protect the coral reef ecosystem in Southeast Asia. And then on the bright side, what are the things that we youth call ourselves as youth to do about it? All right. So maybe you have heard, or maybe you have already know that the Southeast Asia countries, comprised of 11 countries, including Timor-Leste, is one of the epicenter of the global marine biodiversity. So we are located in what we call as the Coral Triangle region. So it encompasses some of the region in Southeast Asia that we represent 34% of the total coral reefs in the world. And actually 51 of world's mangroves are located in Southeast Asia from 71. So we have already covered more than 70% of mangrove species in the entire Southeast Asia region compared to the world. So it's one of the richest and most biodiverse area on the planet. And moreover, that aside from the mangroves, we also have 600 building corals out of 800 total corals in the world. So we represented the key biodiversity areas in the whole world. That this is already one of the highlight why the Southeast Asia region is very special, and why we have to know more about it, and we have to kind of participate in protecting these resources before from any kind of destructions or from any kind of degradations that already happening throughout the countries in Southeast Asia. This is just a little photos that we took. So this photo took by my friend Irwan. So this is just the kind of research stations that I used to work with. I see Patita was very excited to see this. So we usually do some diving. There are lots of soft corals here. It's really beautiful, very clear visibility, and you can see lots of animals living there in the coral ecosystems. So here is a graphic. Might be a little bit boring. So here you can see the concentration of the diversity of coral reef in Southeast Asia. You can see here the more bold, the purple color, meaning that it represents the highest diversity of coral reef. So this is what we call as the Coral Triangle region. It encompasses countries like the Philippines, Indonesia, some of the islands in the Solomon Islands, and Timor-Leste, and also here in around the Thailand and Malaysia Peninsula, also represent the second most biodiverse area in the Southeast Asian nations. So it's already prove that the area, like compared to other area in the world, we are in the center of this biodiversity hotspots.
Rafid, if I may interrupt for a second, why? So tell us a little bit, like, you know, like to the rest of the room here, you know, why should we care that we have so many types of, I guess, corals, right?
Yeah.
In our region, like, why is it so important that, you know, why is it good to have so many types of corals than, you know, have the same, you know, one or two species or one or two kinds of coral?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's like when we talk about, oh, we have this many corals, we have this many mangroves, and then the question is like, so what? Like, why should I care? I think that it's the questions that reflected upon me as well when I studied, and that, you know, when I started to learn about coral reefs, there are just so many things we have to discover about them. So coral reefs and other ecosystems that lies between it provides, you know, so many ecosystem services. So for example, mangroves are, you know, one of the most important blue carbon storage for the climate. So they store carbon dioxide, and also the sisters of mangrove, which is the seagrass, that was, you know, the evolution of the land trees. There was apparently, you know, they've been has been through stages of evolutions, and they stay in the oceans. They store 3 times more carbon dioxide. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they store more carbon dioxide than the trees on the land. So they help to regulate the climate. They clean the air, and they produce a vast amount of oxygen for many people and also other living beings on the earth. And also for coral reef, for example, so my undergraduate thesis was exploring how, you know, reef ecosystems, they provide a mysterious compounds of medicine properties that can be useful for treating cancers and treating like endemic disease like malaria, dengue. So a lot of you know, things to be explored. And actually a lot of people around the world travel to Southeast Asia just to learn about, you know, how important it is about the certain species of corals or certain species of mangroves. They collect some samples from our regions and then actually test it out whether they have certain properties to treat cancers. So it has to be us from Southeast Asia, the native people who lives here, you know, who know more about the marine biodiversity, and perhaps like using our knowledge to utilize the resources in the coral reef to benefit the, you know, the human populations, and even, you know, preserving them for keeping our climate. As you may have known, that climate change is already kicking in, and, you know, preserving marine ecosystem is more important than ever. Yeah. So I hope that clarifies a little bit of things. There are just so much things to tell about the ocean. So you're very lucky that you're learning about marine science in Chulalongkorn, and then you got to explore, you know, a lot of different topics, and you can choose whichever that interests you, and then hopefully you can stick to that and, you know, be an expert on that specific field, so you can, you know, contribute to the ocean conservation. And this is also another reason why we have to care about that many corals, that many fish, that many mangroves, that, you know, coral reef ecosystem alone is one of the important economic value and livelihoods. So we have millions of people, right, living in Asia, in Thailand, in Malaysia, Singapore, Myanmar, that, you know, that these people, especially those who live in the coastal areas, are depending on fishing. So they do fishing as a subsistence livelihoods to, you know, they catch fish and then to feed their families. They catch fish to sell it in the market, to pay for schools. And, you know, if these ecosystems are not well preserved, these people will lose their livelihoods, which is very important to their basic well-being. And for a matter of fact, that the coral reef fisheries alone in Southeast Asia provide the value of $2.4 billion per year. So it's coming from subsistence, livelihoods, people who just go out fishing to feed their families, to the industrial sectors where people are harvesting foods and then selling it to the seafood markets. So this is one of the most promising and the fast economy that is happening around the coral reef fisheries if we extract them sustainably. And aside of the fisheries, we have also important, some areas in Thailand have so many beautiful coastal areas, like in Phuket, that could be utilized as a tourism sites. Tourism generates jobs for people around the coastal areas. They can, gain some economic benefits from it. People from around the world travel to see beautiful white sandy beaches and then beautiful reefs. So, they can spend their money and they can benefit the local economies. And also what I've said that, the corals and other animals that living in the ecosystems, they have mysterious pharmaceutical properties. They can treat cancers. They can, treat many serious disease. Even like when COVID hits, there are some discussions that actually the liver content from the sharks can be used to treat COVID, or can be used as a medicine for COVID. Even if it's kind of a promising ideas, but the sharks is already endangered, so it's a little bit of the debate. But I think that if we, if the scientific community can explore more about the mysterious properties of the oceans, it potentially could, produce more important discovery. For example, medicine for COVID or for vaccines or something like that. And also the ocean ecosystem regulate climates. So if you live around the coastal areas, I can assure you that a healthy ocean area, coastal areas, I can assure you that the air quality is better when you live in Jakarta or better when you live in Bangkok. So that's how important the coastal ecosystems, because they filter the air, right? From many different kind of pollutants, and then actually store all of the carbon dioxide into the ocean. So in turns, they release healthy and clear oxygen for us to breathe. And they help to reduce the air pollution and regulate the temperature of our climate. That's just how important the ocean ecosystem, not only from the economic point of view, but also from from the human well-being and the earth stability overall. However, like I've already told you a little bit about why the marine ecosystem is important and why we should protect it. What is the potentials of it? This ecosystem is one of the most fragile ecosystem in the entire world, right? Because maybe you've heard a little bit about the corals that only grow less than 1 centimeters per year. And a huge boulder of corals, they may already been in the ocean for thousands of years. And then in an instant, sometimes when people are not aware of it, they go, for example, to Phuket, and then they don't know about the importance of coral reef. They thought it's a rock. And then they stand on it or like they kick on it, the corals may die. So, that's 1,000 evolution process disappear in just like seconds or minutes. So, and especially like perpetuated by lots of unsustainable, practices. So I said that local communities may be depending on the coastal ecosystems, but not all of them actually aware about the practice that they are doing. For example, like they use destructive fishing, like using bomb fishing, like in Indonesia and in the eastern part, it's very common, like people use bombs to catch a large amount of fishes. But eventually it also destroyed the coral reef. Like you can see here in the picture that this is one of the areas that has been heavily bombed by local fishermen. And it's just really sad. And then you can see the corals also white, turns white because they bleach, because they cannot survive in the rising temperature because of the climate change. And then overfishing, like the people who use large nets to catch as many fish as they can, without eventually thinking about the, you know, oh, maybe the fish is still a baby, they have to release it, but they just take everything that is caught in their nets. And also the plastic pollution, the marine pollutions, the oil, and the ocean acidifications. So these are a few key issues about the degradation of the ecosystems that are currently happening in our oceans. As you can see that, especially in Southeast Asia, the coral reef are the most threatened in the world. So, you know, a part of us being one of the richest regions on marine ecosystem, especially on the corals, we are also the region that is the most threatened from from coastal development, from, you know, from people building like the harbor for the ships in the coral ecosystem, and then maybe they built hotels, but they don't use they didn't conduct a comprehensive ecosystem impact review, and that ended up, you know, creating pollutions and then changing the coastlines of the beaches and stuff like that, and especially climate change, and also human populations growth that makes people depending more on foods. So that made, you know, people extract more from our reefs. So here is the snapshots about the threat level that was modeled, you know, to understand more like what is the driver of threats, like where is the concentrations of threats. If we see here, you know, so you can see the red dots, meaning that the threat level is high. So as you can see, it's mostly concentrated around some of the coastal areas that prevalently, because the reef is very fragile. It's easily accessed for people to fish. Mainly in the eastern part here, like you can see here in Indonesia, it's called the island of Sulawesi, where the bomb fishing is mostly concentrated. So people are practicing bomb fishing to fish for lots of different resources like groupers and other reef fishes. So it's mostly red in here because people are practicing unsustainable fishing practices. And then some areas in the Philippines as well. Fortunately, in Thailand, this was, I think it's the data from 2006, yeah? So maybe things change. Sorry, this map was quite old. So in Thailand, it's still blue. Hopefully it's still blue, meaning that the threat level is actually low. So yeah, so, and you see that especially in the area like Philippines and Malaysia, and over 50% of the reefs in Indonesia are threatened with destructive fishing for local communities who are using destructive tools to catch fish and then sell it in the market. And here a little bit about Thailand for a larger picture, actually. This is the data from 2006. 77% of Thailand reef. Maybe the professor here know more about how Thailand is doing in terms of reef conservation. So 77% of Thailand's reef are threatened by human activities, including overfishing, sedimentations, and also marine pollutions. In the Andaman Sea and in the Gulf of Thailand, the threats are mostly localized and concentrated around the coastal areas. And the impact of these destructions, the unsustainable fishing methods, it's causing economic loss for many of our communities. Yes, it was practiced by the local communities, and it also goes back to them, right? And it is estimated that the continuous destructive fishing practices causing this, stopping of reproductivity of the ecosystems made a country lost about 1.2 billion for Philippines if the destructive fishing continues, and then about 570 million US dollars for Indonesia economies. So it's, you know, it's maybe practiced by just a little bit of people, but the ecosystems that help sustain the life of so many, you know, let's just take everyone at stake on the impact, you know, on our life and our well-being in the future. And, you know, I've said like so many things about doom and gloom, like, oh, the reefs are degraded. Actually, like, things have been really progressing in so many countries. So a lot of people know more now. Like, you know, as I've said, like, even when I started my marine science degree, like, all of my family are thinking, like, why are you choosing marine biology? Like, do you want to be a fisherman? Like, do you want to be, you know, going out in the sea and do fishing? Like, it's just like, not all people understand like why some of us are choosing the degree in marine biology once we know about how important it is, how diverse, how many opportunities that we can explore. It's just kind of like a drive for us to, you know, to know more about it and then take part in protecting it, right? And then I think that more people taking marine biology degree and then more people discuss about it, and that's somehow like changing the feel about people see in the oceans right now. Internationally, like globally, ocean is being the center of attention. So people are, you know, putting a lot of investment, like corporates or companies that previously contribute in pollution or contribute in ecosystem degradations, now putting a lot of money to actually increase the effort of restorations and management of marine ecosystem, so that we can, you know, ensure that in the future we can still have some thriving coral reefs and then thriving coastal communities who are depending on the marine species. So there's so many important progress are going on, but here I just wanted to highlight a little bit about what the things that has been taken so far. So for coastal areas, especially coral reefs, one tool, what we call as a marine protected areas, or MPA, maybe some of you have already know, or maybe an expert already. It's a widely accepted tool for conserving coastal ecosystems. So an MPA is to, in short, like, we are dedicated a certain areas of the ocean, and then put a different zonation. So for example, this zone is for conservation. This zone is for sustainable fisheries. This zone is for buffer areas where the fish are, you know, breeding and then repopulate themselves, and we have to protect that, what we call as the core zone. So it has to be protected, so, you know, fish can repopulate and stabilizing the collapse populations that we have so far. So this MPA, I think since the past decade, has been promoted by lots of different institutions, NGOs, and even government now take place, and it's one of the most progressive efforts, and especially like Indonesia or maybe and maybe Thailand. I'm not really know about the state of MPAs. Like every year, there's always new MPA dedicated for marine ecosystems. So investment coming from mostly foreign organizations that put some investment to create a dedicated place that close to the heart of the local communities, and ask the local communities to actually protect them, and being, you know, the main actors to protect the marine ecosystems that close to them. And here, like, you can see and I think that even if like it's one of the fastest growing and progressive tool in marine conservations, it comes with a lot of shortage, right? So it requires a huge investment. We require management, monitoring, and enforcement, so that, you know, we're not only establishing an area, but we also put some efforts to make it work, make the systems work. For example, to promote tourism or fisheries management, and you know, that benefits can only be achieved when we achieve the effective management itself. you can see here that many areas say that it's partially good. Only certain areas that categorize as good in the MPA management. So it's just a little bit of areas here that actually, here, for example, like in the eastern part of Indonesia, where many of the MPS are concentrated, only a few of them actually good. Most of them are partially good, right? And on the downside, that creating an MPA, meaning there's a cost to it, right? Sometimes when it's not well designed, especially with the participations from the indigenous and local communities, it can lead to conflict. That's somehow true when I work in the place that I am right now in my project, that the government say that, oh, it's an MPA, but the local communities don't really know, like, I don't really know it's an MPA, since when it was established. There's just not enough communications at the beginning, and then the area that should be protected because it's important for fish or for sea turtles, people are just fishing there and then get so many bycatch of sea turtles and killing them. So and then when we try to like approach the people like, hey, the sea turtles is not allowed to be fished here, and then people are like, oh, I don't really know about it, like, I was not involved in the process and something like that. So to avoid that, the process of creating an MPA, a marine protected area, should be built by the understanding and the participation, the active participations from local and indigenous community that lives there. This is the example of the area that I previously worked. It's the MPA of Wayag. I think some of the cars have similarities in some place in Thailand as well. This is a very famous Wayag where you can see baby manta ray here. So it's known to be one of the nursery habitats for manta rays in West Papua. So the pregnant mantas usually give birth in here in the lagoon because it's protected. There's no crocodiles, there's no big sharks, so the baby are felt safe here. Previously, before the MPA, this area was exploited by outside fishermen. They use bombs, they use cyanides. The area was badly impacted. And then when the MPA is established, it started to recover. And then the first discovery was the baby manta rays in here, noting that the area is very important. So if there's no MPA, the baby mantas will be threatened by any kind of unsustainable fishing, like, for example, using nets or using hooks that could threaten the manta rays in there. So this is just how important the effective MPA is for marine ecosystems, because some areas may play a role as a important habitats for certain animals, and then it's just a high urgency for us to dedicate it as a protected area for that one. And establishing an MPA, like I said, there's just like so many commitment to it, like how to achieve the effective management and what actually the current needs to improve the conservations of reefs in Southeast Asia. So I'm beginning to go towards the end of my talk. So the first thing is that many areas in Southeast Asia don't have adequate data to determine whether the area is threatened, whether the area needs to be protected or something like that, simply because we just don't have that many people doing it and don't have that many resources or capacity to do it. So that's the important things of how, like, us individual, like students or young researchers who have the interest can start their own work in certain areas that previously has not been discovered. So my project, I work in a small area called Alor. It's a small island, quite secluded. There was no NGO working there before. And then when I went there, actually the people are exploiting sharks there for more than 50 years. and then no one knows about it. Even the government don't know, like, oh, we don't know that people are catching sharks here. And it's just like very poor documented, and if I'm not going there, probably it will stay that way. Like, people will not know that they've been doing this endangered shark fishing for so many years. And that's just the importance how we, as an individual, go exploring some areas and then actually get to know what's the state of the oceans in there. And like I said, that if we don't that information, if we don't have that informations, we just don't know like what's the next step to protect it. So we cannot use that data to actually generate some kind of management measure, how, what are the steps to actually protect these animals, or to protect these coral reefs in the area that has been heavily bombed. If people keep doing bomb fishing in there, and then there's no one doing interventions, it will be gone like forever. So the data, simple informations is very important, and that could be gathered as a collective effort, so individuals can contribute to the knowledge and data and informations, and then start working together with stakeholders, with government, with NGOs, with other parties that have interest to protect the marine ecosystems. And especially the reason why that destructions is happening is that it's just local communities don't know about what they're doing, what the impacts of what they're doing. For example, those who are using destructive fishing, they just felt like it's normal because they've been doing it. Like, they've been fishing sharks for so many years because they feel like, oh, I've been doing this since I was very little. Like, the sharks are still there. They don't know like it's already endangered globally, and then if they keep fishing them, they will be gone. So the least thing you could do is that kind of just go there, and then you as someone who is educated or like have a little bit more knowledge than them, you can start discussing, creating a dialogue, like just getting to know them, and then slowly like telling them the state of the ecosystems that we're in, and then involving them in the activities that you do, especially the young people who will be the ones that participates in these efforts. So that comes to the questions like what you can do as a youth. While MPA mostly established in the broad level, right, is usually coming from the government, from the top, and then they go to local communities and doing some projects. Sometimes that's not kind of an effective, or the impact is not very well established because it's just like very far away in the bureaucratic process, and then the chain is just too long. The projects that usually starts, it's based on the research. So the project that actually started from the local communities itself, or from the local youth, or what we call as the locally led initiative, is often better in the process of adaptation. For example, those who are starting coral reef restorations projects, or mangrove restoration projects, or education projects about marines, it's more effective. Why? Because the local people know more about the character of their communities, about the things that they need, the right approach to do it. So it's performed better rather than the governments who are knowing from very far away and then deciding like, oh, this is the best thing to do in this community. So something that is started from the heart of the local people will create a better impact and have a long-term sustainability to it. And especially for young people in Southeast Asia, we see a growing efforts on how to do it. As for example, like SOS Thailand, who started this initiative, and then hopefully they can enlarge the impacts to many more young communities as well. Those who are doing conservation projects and conservation interventions, from awareness raising campaign and restorations, it will be one of the most effective collaborative efforts that is conducted by the young people across Southeast Asia countries. So a little bit of the points. So this is actually my last slides. So if you are interested in participating in marine conservation projects, this is just some of the options that you can do. The first is, if you're still in university degrees, start exploring about your interests, your passion in marine. You can start volunteer for organizations that lead by youth, especially those who work in ocean conservation. Just, trying to get yourself in the field, feel feel the joy and the excitement of doing with local communities, and then engaging a lot of people. But right now in COVID, I know it's hard. So hopefully after COVID ended, you can continue doing this. And then second one is that raise awareness. The closest circle is your family. I know in Asia, especially, it's just really hard. Like in every celebrations, we use plastic cups for serving people, for example, in birthdays or in wedding ceremonies. We choose plastic cups because it's practice. And if we have like 1,000 weddings that produce thousands and thousands of plastic cups every year, it's just, it's just not good to think about, right? Like, the smallest thing you could do is just to raise awareness among your families, among your mom and dads who may not be aware about ocean plastics. I started doing it in my family. Like at first, like, oh, you're so complicated. Why do you have to bring the tumbler? Like, why you have to like prepare this and that? Like buying plastic bottle is just so simple and something like that. And then Wina told them, like, I've been working in this ocean, and seeing so many plastics in the ocean makes me sad. And then they started to understand, and then they started to change behavior. That's the small wins that you could do in your family. And use eco-friendly products. If you go to the beach or to the coastal areas, don't use sunscreen. That actually kind of hurting the coral reef. And then donate to environmental organizations. And then lastly, the least thing you could do is to educate yourself. If you start to have interest in it, and wanted to know about it and wanted to contribute to it, just educate yourself. Like attend webinars, read in social media about marine ecosystems, and that's and even the last is that when you start to educate yourself and the urgency to it, you can start a conservation project of your own. Small thing like beach cleanups or replanting mangroves or something like that could be the option for you if you would like to contribute as young people. So this is the reference that I use. It's from work. All right, so I should stop there. I know I've been speaking for so long. So I give it back to Charlie. Thank you.
Thanks. That was great. Especially the last slide. I mean, every little bit help, right? I mean, you also have to start with small little things that you can start at home. I guess a lot of people here in this room probably have done something similar to what you did, Rafid, and perhaps experience a little bit of resistance from your family member to some extent, but I guess you just have to keep pushing, right? And then you get there. Just have to keep going with that. So with that, I guess we have a little bit of time to answer some questions. If anyone would like to pose some questions for Rafid, or any comments, anything that you want to share with the rest of the room here. Anyone? Yes, Patita, you want to say something?
We don't throw the trash into the sea because that makes the marine sick. So I have a plan to stop the people throwing your trash into the sea.
Mhm.
But I'll put a sign. Do not throw your trash into the sea. That's dangerous.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Patita. Yeah, excellent. I think that you already know that throwing trash into the sea, you see that so many fish in the ocean. Yeah, the picture that I saw recently. Imagine that fish is eating the plastic, so it's not really good for them. So you can start telling your friends like, hey, don't throw the plastic into the sea, or maybe some of your family members that, you know, that really helps. Thank you very much for doing that.
Sweet. Anyone else? Anything to share? Anything to comment? Or if you really can't speak at the moment, you can also type in the chat box, and I'll try to read out your comment, whether in English or in Thai, whatever. We'll make translation works here. All right, I have I think I counted in my mind 1 to 5. So I guess we better move on. But I guess thank you so much, Rafi. That was a really good introduction to the issues that we as the community in Southeast Asia, that you said that we are the hotspot for biodiversity in terms of marine lives. And we are such we sit at a very important spot that if we lose something precious like what we have right in our backyard, then that would be the loss to the rest of the world as well. Ajahn Sujari, do you have anything to add? I guess I saw that you are raising your hand.
Or just like I would like to know the movement in terms of the volunteers in Indonesia, like how big is it compared to the overall of the population or anything? Like, is it very big, or do you need more people, more hands to help participate in like cleaning up ocean or something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jari. So for Indonesia, I think from my observations, we have quite big community, doing especially on the issue of ocean plastics, like clubs in the university. They started to, especially clubs who have marine science programs or environmental programs. They organize like regular beach cleanups or regular awareness raising in the city that they live in. Start just on, or even like they encourage people to stop using plastic bags and something like that. Some others that in the East, but unfortunately, like even if they're big community, it's still concentrated in some of the big islands, like in Java, some of the areas where access to knowledge has been quite good, so more people aware. But more in the remote areas, this is the ironic thing, is that the area is the most pristine. They don't have, like in my area, like the area is so pristine, but they don't have marine programs. They don't have marine science programs, and marine conservation is very strange to them. Like they said that marine conservation is not something they would like to pursue. They choose to be a police or an army or something like that. So I think that we need more people, especially living in the pristine areas, to to have that knowledge about marine conservation, especially the young people. But I must say, I think that with the thousands of organizations that are currently existing and organized by young people, it's moving forward. So more people started to follow each other on the activism. Yeah.
Great, awesome. So with that, I guess I will invite the second speaker of today. We have our very own alumnus, Supacha Prakang, or Piploy. She's a pride and joy to our department, that I can say for sure. I know that you are very humble, so I am going to do the advertisement for you. She graduated top of her class. But more importantly, not just the fact that she is really great academically, but she also has always been interested in a lot of extracurricular activities. And I guess that makes her a very unique person to be the speaker for today. Well, today she is here talking to us as the co-founder of Thailand's chapter of Sustainable Ocean Alliance, or SOA. And I guess she will touch on the topic of how young generations may help saving Thailand's ocean. All right, well, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Janet. So it's such an honor to be here with you guys. So as I mentioned before, that I actually have a secret, surprising part. So let's get started. Okay, so you can see my screen, right? Okay, so for today's agenda, there are 4 major topics that I'm going to mention about. There are who, what, how, and why. So the first part, I will start with who am I? It's going to be like a short introduction about myself and how can I become Ploy today. And the second part is what we can help. And the third part is how to begin. And the last part is why. So let's get started. So some of you may wonder, who am I or who are you? So I am a freshly graduate student from Marine Science Chula. And yeah, I have been doing some projects about conservation. And as you guys know, I love scuba diving. But what you may not know about me is that I actually came from non-marine related background. I grew up in Chiang Mai, which is the north of Thailand, and moved to Bangkok. So it's pretty weird that I end up with the ocean, right? The reason is that I got a chance to dive when I was so young, and I see these kind of pictures and in the real life, and it was really beautiful. But in the past, like next 10 years after that, after my first dive, I see something like this in our Thai ocean, and it's pretty sad. It's only, I think, 10 years. Yeah, it's not that much. And I imagine that if it's the next 10 year or 20 year, how's the ocean's gonna be? I don't want it to be worse than this. So that's why I started to interest in marine science and decided to pursue on this field. So what can we help? So this one, I want you guys to think about how can we help. If I mention about marine conservation, of course, I think most of people think about scientific research, but actually there is more than that. So if you're in the field of policy, arts, or data visualization, you can actually help the ocean also. So that's the point that I really want to raise, and I want to tell everybody that you don't have to be a scientist to help the ocean. You can help the ocean like no matter who you are. So this is what called multidiscipline, and it's like combining many parts together to create something good. And of course, I think it is hard to be someone that is good at everything. So if you're good at everything, you're a superhero. So I think the thing that is also important is connections. So this is kind of a key message that SOA Thailand focused on. So back when 2018, I got a chance to participated in a summit organized by SOA Sustainable Ocean Alliance in Bali. So that is like a life-changing for me. I met lots of people. I met amazing scientists and also artists, someone who wrote the song. That's so great. I got inspired and I got connection from this summit. and give you a little bit background about Sustainable Ocean Alliance. They develop the leaders, cultivate idea, and also accelerate solutions, as Rafid mentioned. So who they are? Yeah, it's like a community for youth, entrepreneur, and expert. And you can see that not a community of scientists, right? So something like I mean, some kind of problem like this requires many parts to help. So we, me and like 5 of my friends, we decided to start the chapter SOA Thailand. So I'll tell you a little bit more about SOA Thailand. So as Janet and Rafid mentioned, we are a chapter and we have our own missions because we see that in Thailand, there are many organizations that is working on ocean conservation, but we still cannot see the strong connection between those organizations and people. So we aim to connect everyone into a group and also empower youth and general public about how they can help our ocean. And yeah, sorry, my home is like a little bit, okay. Next one, we want to raise awareness, but awareness is not enough. We have to push it into actions, and that's what we want to do. So what we are doing right now, we have a platform on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We start with doing some content to reach most of people. The content that we did is not only academic things, we also present about the story of local people. We present about something funny and catchy. Yeah, and we also have a group called Sontana Phasa Thaleกับ SOA Thailand. So in this group, in this group, you can join and ask and make a discussion with people, with your friends, or if you have any question, you can ask. So for this year, we got a Ocean Leadership Micro Grant for SOA. We plan to do 2 events, and of course, everyone are invited to submit the application and also join us. The first thing that I want to talk about is SOA Thailand, the Next Gen Camp. We want, as I mentioned, I want to empower youth in the field of marine conservation, but COVID hits and then we have to do it online. So we are going to have online workshops on marine environmental issues, and we also introduce design thinking, which I think it is a really useful tool for people who wants to create some project or camp or anything. So on the right side, it is the poster, and you can maybe capture the screen and then sign up. Okay, so how to begin? This slide is blank actually because I don't really have a solid solution for you how to begin. I think it's really depends on person. I can share about mine. Based on my journey, I start with exploring the solution. No, sorry, not solution, the issues, the situations. And then I also explore myself, what I can do and what I want to do. And the third one is I explore people, what people around me can do, or what I can help them, or what they can help me. And then in this process of the work, I use the design thinking tools, which on the right side, I guess, yeah, about we have to empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and testing. So this kind of thing will be in our camp also. So yeah, now I'm advertising my camp so hard. Okay, so I want you guys to share and learn and grow together, because I am not an expert. I have just been in this field for like 3 or 4 years. I'm also a newbie. But the thing is that I got a good friend, I got a good teacher, and someone who supports me. And yeah, so I decided to start the journey. So the last question is why? Why us and why now? I think this part, Rafid has mentioned, why do we have to participate in this? How youth can change the world, and why now? Of course, the environmental is degrading every day. So I will not answer those questions anymore, but I would like to ask you, that is, why not? Why don't you start it today? It's so easy and simple. Yeah. So these are the channels for the SOA Thailand. As I mentioned, we have a group, and I want to encourage everyone to join, because we want it to be the platform for everyone. No matter you are 7 years old or 60 years old, it's okay. We welcome everyone. So yeah, I think I would like to hear more if anyone have a suggestion, or if anyone is doing their projects in Thailand, so maybe you can share. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I guess we welcome your comments or what you want to share with us. And of course, I mean, if you are shy to say it in English, perhaps say it in Thai, we'll translate. And yeah, just whatever language you wanna say. Okay. And Ploy, can you just sorry, I interrupted, and I guess they probably forgot what your question was.
Oh, okay. So my question, the first 4 topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the first one is, who are you? And okay, I think I better share the slide, right? Okay. Wait, I got lots of slides.
Here we go.
Here.
You got it. Yep.
So
I guess you are trying to ask our audience who they are and what they could do to help, right? And how they would like to begin and why.
Yeah, because actually, I think I'm also a newbie for this field. I think there are so many amazing people doing their projects, and I would love open the floor for them to share. Okay.
So I think we can do it in 2 ways. We can do, since we have 61 participants, it's a big group, right? We can also do it in breakout rooms if we can. What do you think? So we can have like a small group of 10 or something like that, and we can kind of jump around and kind of facilitate a little bit. Smaller groups might foster a little bit better conversation. Don't you think so?
Yeah, that would be so great. I think it's okay. I mean, it's okay if you haven't done something like big projects or like a work, but at least you can share about your interest and also your idea, because I saw that there are chats going on. I cannot catch up. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. I think I can create the breakout room. We've got about 60. How about we make 5 rooms, and then we can
speak we can speak Thai, right?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
don't
you can
worry.
speak whatever language you'd like. And then I mean for those international participants, I guess we can make additional room that you can speak, and I might be over there. And also let me just make the room first. 5 room, I will assign it automatically, so we just do it at random. Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
Here we go.
Net. Hi,